Sorry about that, Maria. It took just a little bit longer than expected, but we are live. And you're muted, Maria.
All right, excellent, fantastic, no longer muted. Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Maria Hopwood and I'm from Australia, Sydney. Before we start, I just want to say a few things, please, and just keep in mind what I'm about to say. This is a webinar that's been Facebook Live from Dr. Gary Samuelson's Facebook page. Thank you, Dr. Samuelson, for allowing us to do this. Please feel free to add your wonderful comments of appreciation. Please do not, as a sign of respect to Dr. Samuelson, post any questions about any issues that you might want to ask. For more information, please go back to the person that invited you to this webinar and Facebook Live. I will put a website, a whole lot of websites in a few minutes up for you to resource and access. ASEA has got amazing information on all their pages, so please go back there. The lines will not be open for questioning. However, time permitting, a wonderful Stevie Apollina will be reading any questions that might come in the chat box, and so long as they're ASEA compliant. Thank you very much for your cooperation. So let's start. Now we're going to try something different. I like to keep you guys guessing. So the format for today's webinar will be set by a number of questions, which I'll be posting to Dr. Samuelson, and of course to Daniel Doyle as well. And of course, gentlemen, please feel free to interject at any time. This is just to keep the flow going. So let's begin. Welcome, everybody, no matter where you are in the world, to a candid conversation about the science of healing revealed with Dr. Samuelson, PhD atomic medical physicist, and Daniel Doyle, ASEA Ambassador Triple Diamond. Before I start, I'd just like to make a disclaimer. And ASEA Renew Redox serum are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. Dr. Samuelson, Daniel, welcome to the webinar. Lovely to have you both.
Thanks,
Daniel, you're awesome. Just a little bit of an introduction about Dr. Samuelson. Dr. Samuelson has a medical atomic physics degree from the University of Utah and has dedicated his career and knowledge to the advancement of technology that addresses major problems of health today. His focus is on the science of redox signaling that is now developing around the world. Dr. Samuelson is the one and only scientist that was able to stabilize these redox signaling molecules outside the body, something the scientific world thought impossible. This in itself was a magnificent accomplishment, considering that these molecules take a millionth of a second to be created and used by our human bodies. And it takes the same amount of time to be converted back to saline solution within the cells, if not required. Thanks to Dr. Samuelson and ASEA, humanity now, of which we are all part of, have trillions and trillions of these molecules stabilized in a bottle for a human consumption to protect, repair, replace our cells. And as Dr. Samuelson eloquently said in a previous webinar, these are so important because redox signaling molecules assist in the expressing of the gene that helps communication inside our cells. Dr. Samuelson, welcome. Daniel, thank you for your time. Daniel has been traveling around the world for the last 3 years sharing this amazing discovery, ASEA. He has been a very successful businessman in Australia, building 20 traditional business between 1990 and 2011. In October 2014, he joined ASEA and is now ranked the #3 most successful associate in the world as an Ambassador Triple Diamond. Congratulations, Daniel. Daniel was voted 2017 Business Builder of the Year by ASEA Corporate and at last year Global Convention in Salt Lake City 2017. The entrepreneurial spirit voted his peers the Global Diamonds 2016 Emerging Leader of the Year, and he's extremely passionate about ASEA and the breakthrough products, and we're about to find out why. So Dr. Samuelson, Daniel, welcome. We're going to start with the questions. Please feel free to cut in, move in. This is a conversation about you two, and I'm just here to actually just help a little bit. So Dr. Samuelson, we are made out of trillions and trillions of cells. Of course, we know this is nothing new. But what is exciting It's the new understanding of approach of how we look at a cellular health and its processes. You actually wrote a book about this and the science of healing revealed. And of course, you write a lot in your blog about this particular topic. Could you please expand on that briefly?
Yes, it's a little booklet. It's only about 80 pages long, but it explains what this new science of redox signaling has to do with healing and the replacement and renewal of cells. To make it really simple, though, for our audience, if it's all right, I'd like to bring in a kind of analogy that will help to simplify the way that redox signaling works, if that's all right. If we in our communities of cells inside our body, they form themselves into sort of a self-organized communities. Each of these communities form then the tissues and structures that help to organize a body. Also, well, these communities, we know them as skin cells, heart cells, gland cells, and all of the organs, etc., nerve cells, etc. These different types of cells then have different roles inside their community. If you think about it a little bit, it's just like the roles that we have inside of our communities of humans. So in our communities, we build houses to protect ourselves and to get shelter. In the cellular communities, they build cells and cell walls. And inside these cells, then the processes of life are protected and well. We also build roads so that we can bring supplies that we need in order to keep alive into our houses. Well, our organisms, they build blood vessels, intricate systems of blood vessels that carry the supplies that are needed from our environment. And we absorb these supplies by eating them mostly, and they break down into micronutrients and minerals inside our digestive system and they get infused into our blood and then are delivered to all of the cells in our body. One of probably the most important ones actually comes through our lungs, and that's oxygen. And we breathe oxygen in, and it also gets absorbed into our blood, and it gets recirculated throughout our system. So we can see there are a lot of similarities between the communities of cells in our body and what they do, each one fulfilling their role. You know, we have industrial communities that provide us what we need. We have all sorts of different medical communities and communities of farmers, they all supply us with the things we need. It's exactly the same inside of our body. So to explain how redox signaling works in all of this community of cells, maybe we can look at our neighbor. So if I was a cell sitting in my house, I take the sugars that come from the supplies in the blood, and I build myself a little fire. And the fireplace is called a mitochondria. And inside the fireplace, then I burn the fuels in order to be able to create the energy that is necessary. Well, as we all know, fire creates smoke or oxidants and free radicals, right? And then I have mechanisms inside my house, pipes and things that carry the smoke outside of the house so that it won't do damage inside my house. The cells also have these mechanisms that as they bring in these fuels and burn them to get rid of these oxidants. And they actually make very clever little machines called antioxidants inside the cell. And these antioxidants then eliminate and absorb the oxidants as they're produced in our fireplaces, in our mitochondria. So these oxidants, are very interesting in the sense that they form these redox signaling molecules that we're talking about. And let me just kind of have fun with the science a little bit in here. You know, as we're watching the sugar burn inside our mitochondria, the oxygen comes in after the electron transport chain is done and absorbs the electrons. And it becomes reduced, and the oxygen loves electrons. It takes one in and becomes a superoxide, free radical. believe it or not. And then it takes in another electron and becomes a peroxide, like hydrogen peroxide. It's another oxygen state. It's a state of oxygen. Actually, we call it a redox state of oxygen because it's reduction and oxidation of these things by a transfer of electrons. I'm not going to explain that. Don't worry. No tests. Okay, so anyway, this peroxide combines with chloride ions inside of our body that are in the salt and become hypochlorites. They're antimicrobial. They kill bacteria, and as such, our immune system uses them to kill bacteria. And then the last oxidation state, or most reduced state, is that of water. So the oxygen turns back into water, and the cycle is complete. Well, you know, that's all really great and good as long as it's working correctly. No problems. In fact, the creation and elimination of oxidants inside of our body, absolutely essential. But what happens when there is a problem? Now, I'm going to you know, explain this a little bit. I hope this is helpful to you. If I were to look outside my window and there's my neighbor, I helped him build his house. I know his children. You know, we're really good friends. And I look at it there and I say, oh, well, there's smoke coming out of his chimney. That's okay. He just built a fire. There's no problem. Even though there's oxidation there, that's a controlled oxidation, and it's good. And I'm not worried. I look over there, though, and I see smoke starting to pour out his kitchen window. And now I'm a little bit more concerned. So I'm talking to my neighbor all the time, and I pick up the phone. I say, hey, is everything all right? And he says, no, we have a fire in the kitchen. Let's call 911. And I said, okay, we'll get the repair crews there. Unfortunately, the fire has gone a little bit too far. We wasn't able to get it out. Okay. And it becomes a damaged house. A damaged house is very much like a damaged cell inside of our body. In fact, our cells are damaged very, very often inside our body. Millions of them are being repaired and replaced every second. And so as these damaged cells are created, they need to be repaired. If a damaged cell is not repaired, then it will divide as natural cell division into 2 damaged cells, and then 4, and 8, and 16, etc. And exponentially, there'll be an increase in the damage in our neighborhood. I call it the slum neighborhoods of the body, because the damage seems to propagate. This is a natural process of aging. As we age, our tissues are not able to repair and replace themselves as efficiently as before. So, you know, and that's fine. Well, I'm looking at my neighbor over there, and I said, well, we need to repair his house. And the firemen come and say, no, I'm sorry, it's too far gone. So we take down the house, and then I go over there with the plans to my house, and we rebuild his house. And that's exactly what the cells do inside of our body. When they detect that there's been a problem, they call for the help. Sometimes it involves the immune system, because the immune system has to respond to, let's say, an infection or some sort of a thing that's causing the insult. And then if the cell cannot be repaired, then it has to die. And this is very important. This process is very important. Just for example, inside some cells, the redox signaling process has been shut down. There's no smoke, let's to say, to indicate damage. And those cells that don't have the redox signaling process, what happens to them is that they are becoming immortal. They can't repair themselves, and they can't kill themselves. And then that's a problem also if they decide to start to divide. So, you know, let's get those cells repaired. Let's get them replaced. Let's get them out of our body. Let's have that process take place. So the redox signaling process that I'm telling you about actually happens in the cells when we have an insult or damage that causes the oxidants to start to accumulate in the cells, just like the smoke accumulating in the house. It is a huge signal. It's a signal that something is wrong, and the cell will get busy to try to repair itself. If the cell cannot repair itself, in fact, the genes that we have listed in our genetic studies are those that help this signaling process take place, the repair process and the equilibrium process take place for oxidants. Well, this is called acute oxidation or acute oxidative stress, and it has to be there. If it doesn't happen, the cells don't have the signals and don't repair. So you start the repair process. If you can't, then the cells kill themselves, undergo apoptosis, and are replaced by division of their neighbors. And this way we actually can regenerate the cells that have been damaged inside of our body. Imagine how important that is. If this process were to stop, just for a few days, we would age incredibly. And we would see our bodies degrade before our very eyes until all of the cells could not be repaired, replaced. We'd eventually die. So it's absolutely essential. Now, hopefully, you know, Maria, these 50 to 100 trillion cells inside our body are forming these communities. They're watching after each other. They're signaling to each other, and everything is fine. Sometimes we get into, I'm going on a little bit long. If you want to, you can, you know, interrupt and ask a question. But as these are going along, then the repair and replacement process inside of our body is taking place. Then we are, again, we have restored ourselves. I hope that's clear. I hope that's understandable. So this is the redox signaling process. We need those oxidants. We need them to be imbalanced for a little while until we can be repaired, and then it becomes balanced. Sometimes, though, the body is not able to repair itself. And in those cases, we have a condition called acute oxidative stress. Acute oxidative stress is sending out these messengers for the immune system, sending out messengers for cytokines, which are like histamines that are causing inflammation inside of our body. And though that acute oxidative stress actually is the cause or the result of every single type of malady and problem that we have in health, every type. If we can get the cells to repair and replace themselves, if we can reduce the oxidative stress to the point where we restore the balance, the redox balance inside of our cells, then we can help the body to heal itself. Isn't that wonderful?
It is awesome, Dr. Samuelson. Thank you so much. That's just fantastic. So you were able to stabilize these amazing molecules in outside the body for human consumption. So would it be fair to say that supplementing with these molecules from the outside in, would it make the regeneration process better, faster? What's your opinion on that?
Oh no, absolutely. The mitochondria, as we age, produce less and less of these redox signaling molecules. And so the process of regeneration slows down, the immune system slows down, and the cellular communication processes slow down as we get old. If we were able to replace and replenish the supply of redox signaling molecules, then we would expect that these processes become as efficient as they were when we were younger. And that's very helpful.
Wonderful. So Daniel, you had a bit of a journey as well. So because you had some major health issues, and which culminated in a major bad news for you, I guess, that the doctors gave you all those years ago. Keeping in mind what Dr. Samuelson just said, can you just take us on the journey and share with us how you were feeling at the time and what was actually happening?
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, thank you for putting this on, Maria, and hello to Dr. Gary Samuelson and Steve and Sarah, and the other 200 people on this call at the moment. Well, a lot of people know my story, and I will go through that today, but a lot of people don't know my story leading up to my story. I thought I was 5'6" and bulletproof, but apparently that was not the case. I was in the gym at 6:30 every morning, and thank goodness that I was so fit and healthy and lean. I never had any symptoms, and I felt a little lump underneath my left rib, which I ignored for a few weeks, would you believe, until I decided to go get it checked out. And I just went to my local GP and lied back on his little bed in his office, and he's pushing on my abdomen, and all he's doing is going, I'm thinking, that doesn't sound too good. And he sent me straight in for scans, and the scans showed something. He contacted me urgently that night, and he had me booked into the local hospital the next day with a specialist. The specialist sort of was doing the same thing and saying the same thing, and he let me know what he thought it was. And when he told me that, was pretty bizarre. My head started spinning. I'm thinking, this can't be happening to me. I envisaged aliens coming down and implanting some green thing into my body that was going to, cause me havoc for the rest of my life, whatever time that may be. So these are the things that I experienced in that short period of time. I won't go beyond that because I will tell my whole story, but that was basically, from going from a healthy 44-year-old, or as healthy as what I could be, to literally losing my health overnight, not really realizing that I had all these slum neighborhoods building up throughout my abdomen. Thanks for that, Gary. I love that term. But yeah, so losing my health overnight was very daunting.
Wow. So Dr. Samuelson, obviously we've all heard, he's explained the cellular processes in all our cells and how a CR Redox beverage increases our cell efficacy when consumed. So in 2014, Daniel, a good friend reached out to you about a new product that might help you, and this resulted in you traveling to the US, to Utah, and meeting Dr. Samuelson in 2014. So what was the physical impact of consuming the Redox beverage have on your health, and how long did it take for you to notice? And how did you feel when you realized these changes were happening within you?
Yeah, let me share a few photos so people can actually see what I went through. If you can just let me know that you can see this up on the screen and on your computers.
We can see it.
Yeah, fantastic. So if you go back to me as a youngster, right through the age of 24, I played a lot of sports, very fit and healthy, very conscious of, being active and doing the right thing in my body, eating the right foods, playing rugby league, doing judo, gymnastics, aerobics, bodybuilding, as you can see in this picture, leading up to state titles here in New South Wales, Australia. So I was always into fitness, and even fast forwarding 20 years at that time, at 44 years old, I was in the gym at 6:30 every single morning, and thank goodness my health was at this point, because realistically I had no symptoms at this stage. So being so lean, I felt this little lump underneath my right or left rib, which ended up a mass as big as a softball, and some other masses down below as big as golf balls. And 6 months later, in May 2010, as you can see in the picture here, I was thrown into hospital and basically went through 2.5 years of hell. What they put me through in that hospital, I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. So you can see in this photo, I had no hair from the top of my head to my toes, putting on a very fake smile. You can see a ribbon here that my friend was wearing at the time, Johnny Manor, and we were ambassadors for our foundation, doing patient support, even while I was going through this horrendous time. The news that the doctors were giving me was news that I didn't want to hear, but I know the impact of what they could be saying to people, or the mental impact of what doctors saying to patients, how they would feel with what I was going through, and how they needed mental support, which I ended up doing with Johnny, and we used to do a lot of talks back then. Johnny had been through what I'd been through in this photo. He'd had those hospital visits. He played the highest level of rugby league in Australia at the time. He was a super fit sportsman. He was a very big man. So he was 21 in this photo. He had what we would say the good one, and I had the bad one at this time. He'd been through it, but unfortunately within the next 2 years, he's came back and we lost him at the age of 23 years old. So I just want to show how serious these issues are. Basically, at the end of the 2.5 years of these hospital visits, my specialist told me to get my affairs in order. I said to him, hit me between the eyes. I really want to know what direction my health's going in. And the body can only handle so many of these hospital visits. So that was the toll, or the final result, that these hospital visits would have had on my body with what they were doing ongoing. I made a decision at this point to take the responsibility of my health back into my own hands, and I did some research. And till that point, I only believed in the medical fraternity. I never actually believed in anything outside of that, not even with the science of food, let alone, you know, naturopaths and homeopaths and all these people in natural therapies. So I actually switched at this stage to do research to find out what else anybody can do, because the medical fraternity had no answers for what I was going through. And my research led me to an alkaline diet to try and suffocate this thing within, to try and, you know, make sure I got my body working in the best working order that it could. I spent a lot of money on nutritional supplements, on super juices, antioxidants, on alkaline water, and the result after 2 years still wasn't great. So I went from this photo in 2011 to this photo in 2014. So this is in October 2014. And you can see, you know, by my skin, the red and yellow around my eyes, the condition of my skin. It's still a reflection of what was going on the inside. I still couldn't understand why my health wasn't moving in the right direction, because all my test results were showing that things weren't improving. I was doing the best I can. I gave up the things that I loved, like having a red wine and red meat and chicken, and just trying to help my body and try and get it to empower it to heal itself. This is October 2014. I happened to get a phone call from a friend of mine, Bart Cotter. Bart said to me, I think I've found something that could help. And that's all he said, but I could hear he was talking with some sort of conviction and excitement, and I was desperate. I wanted to survive. I was looking for something. And within the next week, I was on a plane heading to a place that I'd never heard of, Salt Lake City. And I happened to mention it to a friend of mine, Malcolm Sword. Malcolm had been, he'd had a skin condition, a challenge for 40 years, spent over $100,000 on this skin issue, to no avail. He hadn't had any improvements at all with what he was going through. So we took a ride over to Salt Lake City. We met Bart in the headquarters of a company called ASEA, which is a cellular health company. And we met in the boardroom of the company. There was Bart, there was Mal Sword, there was me, and there was other people that were looking at this breakthrough, this technology. The story goes, and I know Dr. Gary Samuelson's on, that we were listening to him talk about this breakthrough, this technology, the science behind what this is. And he was mentioning words that I'd never heard of, like redox signaling molecules, the mitochondria. I'm not a scientist, so what he was saying was going over my head. I couldn't understand anything that he was saying, but these bottles of stuff were sitting on the boardroom table, and the only thing that I did understand him saying that what was in this bottle was 100% non-toxic, and it could have health benefits. So Mel and I were gorging it down. We were drinking as much as possible, and then it was free as well. And, you know, we're there for about 3 hours, and we went through about probably half a bottle while sitting there. I went back to the hotel room to have a shower because we were meeting Dr. Gary Samuelson and the founders of ASEA for dinner. I took off my shirt to have a shower, and I'm covered in these little tiny red spots all over my chest, my shoulders and my back. Not understanding what was going on at the time, thinking I've just jumped off a plane. It was the cabin pressure, maybe the radiation in the air, the hot feeling of hot and cold, blankets on, blankets off, and I just had this breakout. What I was going through was a detox. What I was trying to achieve in 2 years, and the result of this photo was literally happening in a short 3 hours by drinking this stuff. Once I found out that was the case, it really blew my mind. But that was the first win out of the first 48 hours of taking this product. The next morning I got up. For 20 years I've had a caffeine intolerance, and I don't drink coffee anymore. Probably because I've spent so much time in America, and they've turned me off coffee. But at that time, I had a 20-year caffeine intolerance, and any more than 2 coffees, I'd be buckled over all day with bloating in my stomach and all sorts of issues. The unfortunate thing was I used to drink more coffee after I went through those hospital visits because I was so tired and lethargic. I used to drink more coffee to give myself more issues to keep myself awake. So the next morning I thought, I'm going to test this stuff that we're drinking the day before, this ASEA. And I decided to have 6 coffees. Why I picked the number 6, I have no idea. But I drank 6 coffees, and I went through the whole day, and there was nothing to remind me of what I endured for 20 years. So this stomach issue was literally gone overnight. That was my second win. The third win came the next day. I had so much lung damage from what I experienced in that hospital over 2.5 years that I was having trouble breathing and talking at the same time. The next day, my lungs were functioning perfectly. So that was my 2 days experience by drinking this product. Obviously, the big things were my lungs and what was happening in my stomach. So that were the really big wins. I went back to Australia and I kept drinking this product. We kept getting it in from America, spending a fortune, paying $300 a case at the time for 4 bottles, but I kept drinking the product. And then just over 12 months later, so December 2015, the day that I got some really good news from my specialist where he said the 2 major issues that I had that were going to cause me grief for the rest of my short life, he couldn't find any sign of anymore, and this is the photo at that time. So you can see the difference from where I came from to where I was just over 12 months later. And it wasn't just those 2 major issues that I didn't have anymore, but I had multiple injuries from playing sports with a neck problem and a shoulder problem and a hand problem, back problem, hip problems, pelvic problems, all these issues that were getting worse and worse and worse every single year. These things just went away in 2015 by being on the product for 12 months. My body was literally fully rebuilt from top to bottom, including problems I had from pollen, which was basically all year round, and I'd use this medication up my nose every morning to try and stop me from sneezing and my nose running. So all these issues that I had all my life, which included, you know, these problems take 5 to 20 years to come to the surface. So they'd been around for a very, very long time, had literally gone away over a 12-month period. And then if you look at the anti-aging side, as time goes on with continuing drinking this product, and I drink half a bottle a day, I wouldn't be without that because I know that my cells are working at optimal level. If you look at 3 years on the product, you can see that I came from here to here a year later to this photo 2 years later. And you can see not only the health benefits or know about the health benefits that I went through, but also the anti-aging with me looking younger, feeling younger, and what I experienced over that period of time. I'm just going to come back to you guys and not share again if I can manage that. But I'll hand back to you, Maria, to continue.
Well, thanks, Daniel. It's just a magnificent story in the power of what we've got in our hands, thanks to you, Dr. Samuelson, which over a decade ago, you managed to accomplish what was believed to be the impossible within the scientific world, and it was to stabilize these amazing molecules in a bottle so that we can, you know, consume as humans or spray on our plants or perhaps give to our pets, and they're non-toxic 100%, which is just fantastic. And for this, I and everybody on this planet will be eternally grateful to you. Thank you. So my question,
very quick, Maria. I just this is my story. I had incredible fast results with my lungs and my stomach issues. Why would I get those results with those particular organs so quick?
That's a. Can I answer that? Or try to answer it. Yes. All of the research that we have on these redox signaling molecules show they are super effective in lung tissue, very, very effective, and in soft tissues of the body. So you know, you actually it targets those areas of your body mostly. By the way, I forgot to mention, you know, it's really good to see you. It's really good to see all of you. It's been a while.
No, it's great to see you two. It's been an incredible journey with, you know, coming from, and I'm so happy personally that I lost my health to lead me on this journey to where I am today with, you know, discovering this incredible breakthrough and what you've done for humanity with stabilizing these molecules. And, you know, it's gone from me looking up to you and still do as an incredible man on this planet, but also it's been an incredible journey with actually physically doing presentations through South America and everything we've experienced. I would have never have believed that would have led to things like that. It's amazing.
You know, I'm very grateful too, because when we realized the potential of this technology, it was only a dream that we could get this technology out to the people that really needed it. So we could see the potential. I could see the potential. I was willing to spend the next 10 years of my life trying to get the message out to people. But you know, Dan, in following through, you have reached more people than I would have ever dreamed of reaching with this product. And I'm sure that there are many, many other issues and stories out there of people who have had relief from suffering and their body has become more efficient and becoming healthy again. So thank you also. I have great respect and honor those people who, you know, follow through with their convictions.
Yeah, thank you. We're all a very, very good team on this purpose-filled mission. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. So thank you. So Dr. Samuelson, would it be fair to say that supplementing with ASEA Redox molecules on a regular basis would actually slow down our aging process?
Well, I can't say it better than Dan did. But, you know, theoretically, yes. As the cells are more efficiently repaired and replaced, you actually, more than just slow down, you actually kind of reverse that process. So you have natural degenerative processes in your body, and if they're winning, then you're aging. But if your regenerative processes are more efficient than your degenerative processes, you're winning. And it helps tip the balance toward that direction.
Wow. So obviously it goes without saying that if you stop taking this molecule, supplementing yourself with these molecules, then you go back to where you started. Your cells start degenerating. So ladies and everybody, humanity, start drinking. This is the way. This is the fountain of juice. It's awesome. It's fantastic. So is this, you know, as humans, you know, we sort of exposed to huge environmental factors which are not exactly great for our health. In fact, they're very detrimental. But we also put our bodies through an enormous amount of stress. And I know that you look really, really good, Daniel, and you're all really, really fit. But that was an enormous amount of stress that you put on your body. And that's excessive exercise, which is wonderful. We all like to look like that. But at some point, there is a price. So that creates different levels of wear and tear, wouldn't you say, Dr. Samuelson? And then what's the process? Is this what we call aging? And is that where ASEA or, well, redox molecules come in?
Yeah, explaining the aging process. Remember how the houses go and they kind of turn into slum houses after a while. And there's not enough energy to clean up the mess. Well, when you actually get the signaling process back online and the genes are now being pushed to repair the cells, well, they'll go into gear and start to work to repair themselves. And so if you think about what is aging, well, it's these slum neighborhoods are winning. They're taking over, you know. So if we can clean up these slum neighborhoods, then we're propagating and using healthier cells, and that's wonderful. So, you know, what happens when we clean up the slums? Well, we have to push all the garbage out to the street. We expend a lot of energy, and little by little, all of the garbage goes away, gets out of our system. That's what Dan was mentioning earlier, the detoxification systems, you know, in our body. We need to be able to get rid of that. If you're drinking ASEA and you notice those symptoms, please just take a lot of water. Just take as much water as you can. to wash out the toxins, and that helps in majority of the cases. So you know that yeah.
So people always ask about nutrition and how important it is in this whole process. And, you know, can I still be eating my takeaway and supplementing with these molecules and still get the benefit? What would you say to that?
Well, yeah. Well, the molecules are great in helping the workers clean up the mess, but you still have to rebuild the houses. So what do you use to rebuild the houses? The materials and the supplies that come through the blood, the nutrients. There's about 40 different kinds of micronutrients and minerals that you need in order to build these cells. Well, if you don't have them, you can't build them. And so the nutrition, we call it the SAD, the Standard American Diet, like the SAD diet, is deficient in many of these nutrients. Here in the United States, where we've processed out a lot, our agricultural processes have also taken out a lot of the nutrients that were normally placed inside of our foods. Even the bacteria inside of our soils, we've killed that bacteria that creates the nutrients that are necessary. So we're in bad shape. The only way that we can get them is to start eating well, or to take or supplement those in form of you know, vitamins, minerals, etc. So
yeah,
the answer is yes, actually.
Okay. Well, so the role these molecules play when we're replenishing on the efficiency of what we're putting in. How does all that work on specific things that the nutrients and antioxidants and things like that?
Okay, well, let me give you an example. When we eat a vegetable, vegetables usually have what they call carotenoids in them, which are super antioxidants, resveratrol in grapes, in the grape ones, and then the zeaxanthin and the keratin, the beta carotenes. And those sort of things are super antioxidants. When we eat them, they go to the places in our body that need the antioxidant potential. One of them, for example, is our eyes. Our eyes are exposed to light, and they create a lot of damage and antioxidants in the retina of our eyes. Those nutrients that we consume go into the retina and protect our eyes against light problems as much as they protect leaves that they come from and the plants that they come from against the ultraviolet light that surrounds them. I mean, it's just, when you think about it, Dan, it's just absolutely fascinating how this works. And I go on too long sometimes, but you know, the idea is that these nutrients then are activated. What activates antioxidants? Redox signaling molecules. They make them more efficient. So we've seen vitamin B12, vitamin C efficiencies go up, and in fact, going up so much so that people who are taking mega vitamins actually need to cut down on their vitamins sometimes when they're taking a C. You know, they're taking too much. And so anyway, it does, and we have seen enhance the action of these antioxidants in our body. And that's only one example. And we can go through all of the micronutrients, and each one has incredible examples. Folates, for example, that comes from leaves, build your DNA. If you don't have folates, you can't build DNA. And all this reconstruction requires that new DNA is being divided and created. You got to have those in your system. Oh, and can I mention this? The deficiency in the United States of folates is 10%. 10% of the people are seriously deficient in folates. And that they are incurring the genetic damage equivalent for not being able to have the DNA built correctly, equivalent to a nuclear disaster in their backyard, and in every state. And so you know, we if we want the DNA to work correctly, we need to eat the folates, or get them into our system some other way. Yeah.
I can say that everybody on this call is hanging off every single word. We could never get sick of you. We could listen to you all day. The molecules that we replenish with, they're, I understand they're active for up to 3 hours. There's a lot of people that are taking or replenishing their body with redox signaling molecules for various reasons. And as an example with me, for a situation that I was in, I drank a lot of these molecules. Would it be better to actually spread drinking them over a whole day, or drinking them in too large amounts at the beginning or end of the day? What's your opinion on that?
Okay. If you drink a lot all at once, it kind of shocks the system to get busy and and clean up and repair and replace. So if you have large scale damage in your body, like as you did, then drinking a lot all at once can get the level up there that you need to start the repair process. And I would say, in those cases, that's great. However, if your kidneys are not able to get rid of all the garbage that's being generated, maybe you're about to slow down. In fact, we don't want you to feel sick. And in conditions where you have a little bit of time, you're not too concerned about the clock, you can slow down a little bit and have that repair process slow down to mitigate these what they call the detox symptoms, or the things that are happening because your body's trying to clean up. So it depends. If you're sensitive and you need a little bit more time and you're worried that your body is not strong enough to do it, take a little bit during the day. Take 1 ounce every 2 or 3 hours during the day. If your body take it and you're interested in getting your body repaired very quickly, then take a lot all at once. 8 ounces twice a day is what I say probably the maximum for most people.
No,
does that make sense, Dan?
That's a huge help. Obviously we want to help people to achieve whatever they want to achieve for whatever their body's going through. So that is a very big help. So just quickly back to nutrition. What do you recommend people don't have in their diet?
Wow, that's very interesting. Let me put it this way. For, let's say, millions of years, as far as we know, as life has existed on the planet, the only things that we're able to actually utilize as foods, fuels, supplies, and materials are natural things that have been out there. All the unnatural stuff, including medications, can overpower or be detrimental to the body because we're not built to handle it. So you want to take into the body that which is biocompatible, that which can be handled easily, the natural stuff, and that's the good. And then the thing that shouldn't be taken into the body, of course, is the stuff that is not found naturally in foods. So the pesticides, for example, that we put on our plants these days, it's terrible. The antibiotics that we give to cattle, and the things that we do to our feed line are atrocious in many things. Glyphosate is an example. Glyphosate is something that is now in fairly high concentrations in every food because it's water soluble and it's getting into everything. It's a herbicide that's been used for many years, and the glyphosate will break down your gut lining. We've shown it in our laboratories. It breaks down gut lining. It causes leaky gut. It causes inflammation and all of the things that happen when you don't have a proper gut functionality. So and these sort of things happen because the body can't deal with it, and it actually breaks down the cells. It hurts them. So I'm not. I can give you example after example after example, but the rule of thumb is just simply this, Dan. If it's natural, if it comes from the ground, it's good for you. Generally, if it isn't, then avoid it.
So basically anything that's man-made, anything processed, avoid it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything with high amounts of sugar, easily digestible sugar, they make you feel good for a little bit of time, you know, but they also stress out your pancreas, and they throw gasoline on all those mitochondrial fires. And, you know, throwing gasoline on your fire is not a good idea.
Wow. Thank you so much to you both, gentlemen. That's been amazing. Dr. Samuelson, in terms of the redox molecules in the human body, are there any areas in the body where the redox molecules do their work, but it's a little bit slower? I heard you say some time ago that perhaps parts of the head that it works, but it's not as fast as perhaps as when it works in the lungs. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. For example, our neurons are a little bit slower because you don't want to have neurons die unless they absolutely have to.
Right.
And they're replaced also very slowly. So those type of things. Cells that are not metabolically active, like bone cells that kind of sit there for long periods of times, are also slow to be repaired, unless they're broken. And then all of a sudden it switches on the genes and the repair, the redox signaling process takes place. But you know, bones, your ligaments and other areas of the body, they're a little bit slower, and of course your nervous system.
Right. Thank you so much for that. Look, it's been such a wonderful webinar so far. We're going to perhaps change a little bit again. So Dr. Samuelson and Dr. and of course Daniel, if you both have got each other's questions that you would like to ask each other, that perhaps the field would like to hear, this is your chance. We are eager to hear whatever you've got to say. Over to you.
I've got hundreds of them, so Dr. Samuelson, I'll let you go first.
Oh, well, I'm going to ask you then, you know, for 10 years, I've been trying to really make it simple and understandable how the redox signaling works inside the body. And you just can't explain it very easily I can't, at least, because I just am wired differently. But how is the best way or explanation, the best method to explain the redox signaling process that you've encountered? What is it?
Yeah, so I obviously go through my story. So I mean, the thing is, for everybody, they need to have a story themselves. They need to know how to tell their story or somebody else's. A lot of people use my story. And then I go into what you went into earlier with, you know, the body, you know, any condition on the planet starts with the body going out of balance and cells that divide into 2 cells, 4, 8, 16, and so on. And then I lead into what these molecules do in the body. And the simplest I can keep it is, you know, we have a mechanism within the body to heal itself. Everyone's heard of the immune system, but and everybody's got an immune system, and we all know in the past that if we're sick in bed with the flu or a cold, we're all hoping that we can get our immune system up. But we've all got this immune system. The problem is it's the communication to the immune system to where the issues are in the body. So I don't want to go too much into the science, but there's this power plant called the mitochondria, which produces the energy for the cell, and as a byproduct of this energy production, produces these redox signaling molecules. There's a chemical reaction that takes place that changes the molecular structure of salt water within the body. And these molecules, once produced, has a split second to detect a cell and then signal the body, the immune system, to come in to either repair, protect, repair, or replace these cells. Everybody's heard of antioxidants. We all know they have some importance, but antioxidants are useless and do not work unless they're activated by these redox signaling molecules. They're key in the regulation of our 12 major systems. They detect the bacteria, virus, and infection in our body, the oxidative stress, that's when our body's rusting, as an example, the plaque that builds up on arteries that leads to heart disease, and also they're responsible for turning on genes, opening up genetic pathways. They're critical and crucial to life. So people get an idea just in a short period of time, in a succinct way, how critical these molecules are and how long you would live, which is not a very long period of time if you stop producing them on the spot. And I compare that to, I asked the question, how long would you live if you kept drinking water, but stopped eating food or put nutrition in your body? Everybody says around about a month. And then I compare it to how long you would live if you stop producing these molecules on the spot. And then go into children are producing them in abundance. By the time we get to my age at 50, we have about 50% production left. By the time we get to 70, we only have about 10% production left. And then I go into the breakthrough, your breakthrough, where you've stabilized these molecules outside of the body. And now we can replenish a 70-year-old's body to potentially heal, recover, and repair like a 10-year-old again.
That's great. Where are you going with this, Dan? Are you going to, I heard you've opened, trying to get into South America. You're trying to get into many other areas in Asia.
Yeah, you know, I've come from traditional business, and the word of mouth business model used to scare me. I used to run away from it. And I was sort of forced into it by, trying to look for something and finding something for my health. Once I knew what ASEA could do for me, for other people, it became a responsibility to share this with as many people as possible, and has become my purpose-filled mission. So when I made a decision back in February 2015, when I was struggling to put food on the table, I almost went to a charity for food stamps. There was several priorities. The main reason why I wanted to do it initially wasn't, it was to help everybody, but obviously I needed to put food on the table. I needed to buy more product for my health. I knew that an amount of one bottle a week wasn't going to cut it. And so that was a priority. But obviously, once I overcome these challenges physically and then comfortable financially, it became that responsibility to help as many people as possible. So everything that all these thank you checks I'm getting for helping people, I'm putting back out there to help as many people as possible, to open up countries as quickly as possible, because with what we know, with what it can do, every single person on the planet are made up of cells. And then obviously over and above that, we've got animals and plants that can benefit as well. So, there's people in countries that need this. The company has recognized that. They basically have gone from being very conservative to quite aggressive without being detrimental to the company, to make sure the company survives. I know they've got a 50-year plan ahead of us. It's not just the next few years. This company's around for the long term. They know how important it is to get this technology to the world as we do. So it's very, very important that everybody that can helps us as quickly as possible. And we're here to help you. Everybody has a health challenge. I mean, even those who don't or say they haven't, we've all got this issue called aging, which is going to lead to all sorts of issues. Everybody needs this. I know there'll be a lot of people out of work if this was available for every single person on the planet. And but that's what we're trying to achieve. We know what this can do. So I'm very passionate about getting it out there as quickly as we can.
Now, they wouldn't be out of work, Dan. They will be doing the kind of work they want to do. The nice thing about your story that really touched me when you told it to me the first time. Can I share? I hope this is okay. Was that the financial burden of such a long illness had weighed heavily on you, to the point where I heard that you were having difficulty even buying the product or bringing the product over, and so that you realized you needed to start the process of the commercializing it so you could buy it yourself. And as you became more and more well, then you kept with the same type of urgency to spread the word. And I just wanted to say that touched me deeply. You didn't have to, but that discipline of being able to, realize that it is valuable, and you're going to keep on doing it, is I think part of what I believe has brought you to where you are now.
Yeah,
is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, what resonated with me from day one is your knowledge, your experience, you being so humble with what you had done from that very first meeting in October 2014. for Tyler Norton, one of the founders, to get up and talk about ego and economics and about how they don't want anybody involved in what we're doing. Nobody to have their ego and economics above their principle and purpose. That stuck in the back of my head as well. And I was thinking from that day, you know, who are these people? What are their purpose? When I'm there just for my own health. So the company teaches us to help people and to help people to help people. And if we're doing that, everything else is going to happen. So if you're not concentrating on the financial benefits of getting these thank you checks for helping people, basically it's going to happen. The more people we help, the more people we talk to, the more people we help to help, the more people we talk to the more that happens. And you know, I can sit back and relax now. Financially, we have no problems at all. The only comparison I suppose I can make without talking figures is I built 20 successful businesses over 20 years. And if you look at the financial benefits, I added up all those incomes, literally, from all those companies and put them together in a month, and they don't even touch the side compared to what's coming in now. The great thing about that for me is that not only I don't have any financial problems, but I can also put that money back into helping other people and at various charities and foundations that I'm passionate about, and the company has an incredible foundation itself. So if I go back to being passionate about sharing this, but also talking to people about how to do this, I mean, you've got to treat it seriously. You can't treat it like a hobby. And you can look at it two ways, and then there's a third way I'll talk about. You can treat it like a business, which it should be and it deserves, because it can pay a lot more than a traditional business. You can treat it like a job, if that's what you're used to, and you know, employ yourself and be the hardest boss you can be on yourself. Or what I do is, even though I'm in a situation where I don't need any more money, I'm still in survival mode every morning that I get up. Exactly like I got up 3 years ago when I was trying to put food in the table or pay for more product for my survival. So the reason I do that, as I said, isn't for the money. It's because that I'm not going to waste 1 second of the day when I get up wasting my time thinking I'm financially okay when there's people out there that need our help. And the less I open my mouth, the more chance that people are going to have the health challenges. They're not going to get on top of them because they don't know about this or haven't heard about this. So I get up every morning at 5, 6, 7 o'clock. I start with all out massive action, and I want to make sure that I don't waste 1 second, because for me, if it costs a life because I'm not doing what I should be doing, I'd be very disappointed. So I just make sure that doesn't happen. Question for you, if you don't mind. This is an enormous breakthrough. Humongous proportions, massive proportions. I suppose the question is, and we've had some one-on-one talks together, what could you compare this to in the past, currently, in the future, with any other technology or breakthrough that you've ever seen? What can you compare it to, and where can you see this going in the future?
Well, the redox signaling technology, speaking of the technology, allows the body to repair and replace itself. What else do you need? I think that it'll spearhead the advancements in medical science for hundreds of years in the future. This is a very potent technology. We have the redox signaling technology so fundamental. It deals with every system of the body. You know, the circulatory system, the nervous system, the endocrine system. There are so many different other technologies also that are incredible, like stem cell technologies, you know, that have such potential. And I say put those right up with stem cell technologies. In the past, maybe with penicillin, but you know, penicillin is pretty simple. All the penicillin did was it killed bacteria, and it was not harmful to you. Well, you know, that's wonderful, but ASEA kills bacteria, it's not harmful for you, and it helps your body repair itself. So, you know, it's actually a little bit better technology than penicillin. And you can take about as much of it as you wish. It's not as toxic as penicillin would be. So you get something that's absolutely non-toxic. It's biocompatible with every system. You can put it in your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, wherever it touches, it starts healing. It starts the body's process of repairing itself. So it's an incredible, absolutely incredible technology. The other technologies that deal with signaling technologies are the ones that are earning the Nobel Prizes for in science now. So, you know, we see time after time after time that signaling technologies, the technologies that allow the cells to signal each other, are the technologies that are going to lead us to our future in medicine.
So stem cells and stem cells therapy has been the buzzword in the past, but I mean, replenishing the body in conjunction with whatever they're doing with stem cells, I mean, that's going to enhance it dramatically, isn't it?
Yeah, the redox signaling process is part of the stem cell adhesion and differentiation process. So it aids those processes, along with the other technologies you mentioned.
Yeah, okay. The people are saying that this company is 15, 20 years ahead of its time, thanks to you and this breakthrough. I look forward with what I know, and I don't know anywhere near as much as you know. I know the very basics, and I to be honest with you, I don't want to know too much more because I don't want to say too much in the situation we're in. But I can't see a bigger breakthrough for the body, like literally, while mankind walks this earth. I mean, is there anything beyond it? I know you're talking about stem cells, pretty amazing, but is there anything beyond this discovery?
Well, yes, there are several things that are actually developing now that will take this to the next level. For the conditions that you had mentioned, many of them are natural. So you know, they deal with different types of micronutrients and different types of minerals like chelated magnesium, copper, selenium, and such, that have such a potent effect in the body, and they're all natural things, you know. I almost don't want to mention it because, you know, we'll be here all night long if I start on this sort of a thing. But you know what, the greatest technology that we could possibly get in our system would be a technology that would allow us to get would be a change in our hearts. A change in our hearts that would allow us to get these wonderful new emerging technologies out to the people that need them. We could mitigate so much suffering. We could have such wonderful lives, and that sort of a thing has bothered me throughout my life. Why can't we feed people that are starving to death? We have food. We know that food is the solution. We just can't get it to them. And so, you know, it's the same thing with these technologies. We're going to have to build systems, and I'm involved in these sort of things now. We need to build systems that will allow humanity to reach out to humanity and get these things out that everybody can benefit financially, as you have, as well as physically and health-wise. There's no distinction in this sort of a thing. And so as communication is important to ourselves, communication is important to us, I wanted to just shamelessly plug a project I'm working on called Atlas Blue. It's a new social media that allows people to talk to themselves and collaborate on projects, whether they be scientific or just things that they're interested in, and share resources and actually even pay people using currency over the web in order to get things done on your projects. And so it forms that sort of a place without boundaries where everybody that is willing to work on these projects can get together and work on them. I call it the plate of cookies, because it's a thing that draws people together. And when they're sitting there at the plate of cookies, they start conversations. I've been to conferences, and I've talked to great scientists, and it's all over a plate of cookies. So there's something like a technology of a plate of cookies, if you want to think of it, to get people together. I think that things like that are going to be part of the future. You know, the network marketing is remarkable because you have a self-propagating system. If you teach people to teach people, like you said, you've made it, you've done it, and we can reach millions. And so that's that is my well, I'm sorry, my big monologue on the subject. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're helping in so many ways, and we're trying to do it cell by cell, one by one. I mean, for me, even outside of this incredible breakthrough and helping people with what, you know, the redox heavy molecules can do for people, I love to help people as individuals to take them to anywhere they want to go in life to reach their maximum potential and whatever that may be. So you're doing it on a much bigger level than I am, but I'm doing my best, and we're doing our best. It's a shame people out there are so skeptical about all sorts of things because they're so conditioned. We've got this incredible breakthrough, and to a lot of people, it's too good to be true. And the great thing about it is we know that with long-term use of drinking these molecules, or even sometimes short use, it is a cure for skepticism. So yeah, hopefully not only with, you know, what you've created and what this company is doing with getting this to the world, we can, over and above that, we can sort out a lot of the world's issues together. I mean, it's sad, and I'm going off tangent here, that, you know, if we don't clean up our act, there'll be more plastic in the ocean than fish by 2050. I mean, I'm going to be talking about human poverty. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, the world is literally a mess, but we're on the right track. We're doing the best we can as individuals. So really appreciate that. Dr. Gary Samuelson, I thank you so much for everything you've done, for what you've done for me, for what you're doing for the world. I'm going to hand back to Maria unless you have anything else you want to go through. It's been a great call today, and really appreciate everybody being on it.
Thanks. Nothing more for me.
Wow, I need to follow this act now. Dr. Samuelson, Daniel, really, truly, from the bottom of our hearts, and all the people that are listening on Facebook Live, and also that are here on the call today, I would like to say thank you from the heart for all the effort, all the work, your passion that you actually go out there to actually, you know, promote and show and share these amazing molecules. You know, appreciation is a wonderful thing, and it makes what is excellent in others belong to us as well. So thank you so very much. We just so thank you so very much. The world is truly a much better place because you are both walking on it. Thank you so much. It's been an absolutely webinar full of 100% of appreciation, awareness, you know, lots of tips and ideas. Please make sure you take note on this, and understand that it's a total global responsibility to share with as many people as possible. These two wonderful men have actually put it out on the table to share this amazing gift that we have, which is ASEA Redox signaling molecules. I thank you very much for your time, wherever you are in the world. Dr. Samuelson, for you, because it's late over in Virginia. Daniel, thank you so much for your time. Stevie Aquilina for being behind the scene and keeping me out of trouble so I don't press the wrong buttons. And finally, I would like to say, please remember, ASEA and Renew and Redox serum are not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. Once again, thank you so much for your time.